The hardest working person you know is probably not rich. Think about that for a moment. Somewhere, right now, a construction worker is carrying heavy materials under the summer sun. A nurse is finishing a 12-hour shift. A farmer is waking up before sunrise. A warehouse employee is unloading trucks. A cleaner is working late into the night. All of them are working hard, extremely hard. And yet, statistically speaking, none of them are likely to become billionaires. In fact, many of the wealthiest people in the world perform far less physical labor than the average worker. So here's the question. If hard work creates wealth, why aren't the hardest working people the richest? This question has fascinated economists, sociologists, and historians for decades. Because at first glance, it seems to violate our intuition. Most of us grow up hearing the same message. Work hard, stay disciplined, put in the effort, and success will follow. But when we look at the real world, something doesn't quite add up. The relationship between hard work and wealth is real, but it is also far more complicated than most people realize. To understand why, we need to investigate one of the biggest myths in modern economics, the idea that wealth is simply the reward for effort. The belief that working twice as hard automatically leads to earning twice as much, because history suggests otherwise, and the truth may completely change the way you think about money. The origins of this idea go back centuries. Long before modern capitalism existed, hard work was often viewed as a moral virtue. But one of the most influential explanations came from sociologist Max Weber. In 1905, Weber published a famous work called The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism. His argument was that certain cultural beliefs helped shape the economic development of Western societies. Hard work wasn't just practical, it became a sign of discipline, responsibility, and moral character. Over time, these values became deeply embedded in society. The message was simple: work hard and your life will improve. And to some extent, this was true. Hard work absolutely matters. People who develop skills, show discipline, and consistently create value tend to achieve better outcomes than those who do not. But economists eventually discovered something important. The market does not reward effort. The market rewards value. And those two things are not always the same. Imagine two people. The first spends 10 hours digging a hole in the middle of nowhere. The second spends 1 hour creating a piece of software that millions of people use. Who creates more value? Who earns more money? The answer is obvious. The market doesn't care how tired you are. It doesn't care how difficult the task felt. It doesn't care how many hours you spent suffering. It cares about the value produced. This distinction is uncomfortable because it challenges one of the most deeply held beliefs about success. We want effort and reward to move together. We want the world to feel fair. But economics operates according to a different logic. And nowhere is this more visible than in the modern labor market. Consider a highly skilled surgeon. A surgeon may earn hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. Now consider a professional athlete, or a famous actor, or a successful entrepreneur. Many earn millions. Are they working 100 times harder than everyone else? Of course not. The difference isn't effort. The difference is leverage. Leverage is one of the most important concepts in wealth creation, and yet most people rarely think about it. Imagine a teacher standing in front of 30 students. The teacher creates value for 30 people at once. Now, imagine a YouTuber publishing a video watched by 3 million people, or a software engineer creating a product used by 100 million users. Both are working, both may be talented, both may be dedicated, but one person's work scales far beyond the limits of time. And that's where the rules begin to change. For most of human history, income was closely connected to labor. If you stopped working, income stopped. A farmer produced crops. A craftsman produced goods. A laborer provided physical effort. The relationship was direct. No work, no income. But technology introduced something new: scale. One person could suddenly influence thousands, then millions, then billions. And once scale enters the picture, effort becomes a much smaller part of the equation. A musician records a song once, millions listen. An author writes a book once, millions read it. A software developer writes code once, millions use it. The amount of effort may be finite, but the reach becomes enormous. This helps explain one of the strangest features of modern wealth. Some people become incredibly rich, not because they work harder than everyone else, but because their work reaches more people. And that brings us to another uncomfortable reality. Ownership often matters more than labor. To understand this, consider a simple example. Imagine two individuals. The first works 40 hours a week and earns a salary. The second owns part of a company. Both contribute to the economy. Both create value. But there is a crucial difference. The employee is selling time. The owner is holding an asset. And assets can continue generating income even when no additional work is performed. This idea sits at the center of modern wealth creation, which is why economist Thomas Piketty attracted global attention when he published Capital in the 21st century. After analyzing centuries of economic data, Piketty observed a recurring pattern. In many periods of history, returns on capital have grown faster than wages. In simple terms, money often earns money faster than labor earns money. This doesn't mean work is irrelevant. Far from it. But it does suggest that wealth follows a different set of rules than income. And perhaps no example illustrates this better than Warren Buffett. Imagine a construction worker waking up at 6 a.m., working outdoors, lifting heavy materials, spending 8 or 10 hours on physically demanding tasks. Now compare that with Warren Buffett. Who is working harder? The answer seems obvious, but that's the wrong question. The reason Buffett became one of the richest people in history wasn't because he worked more hours than everyone else. It was because he owned productive assets that continued generating returns year after year. Even while he slept, even while he ate dinner, even while he was on vacation, the assets continued working, and that's one of the biggest differences between labor and wealth. Labor depends on your time. Wealth increasingly depends on ownership. But even ownership doesn't fully explain the story, because there is another factor that people rarely like to discuss: luck. If there's one topic that makes people uncomfortable, it's the role of randomness in success. We prefer stories about talent, discipline, determination. We enjoy believing that outcomes are entirely under our control. Yet researchers repeatedly find that luck plays a much larger role than most people want to admit. Consider two equally intelligent entrepreneurs. Both work hard, both take risks, both build promising companies. One enters the market at exactly the right moment. The other launches during an economic downturn. One meets the right investor. The other never gets the opportunity. One benefits from a rapidly growing industry. The other competes in a declining one. Their effort may be identical. Their outcomes may be dramatically different. Economist Robert Frank has written extensively about this phenomenon. His research suggests that success in highly competitive environments often depends on a combination of skill and luck. Skill gets people into the game. Luck frequently determines who reaches the very top. This doesn't mean success is random, but it does mean the world is less predictable than we often imagine. And understanding this can be surprisingly liberating, because it shifts the focus away from blaming individuals for every outcome. Some people work incredibly hard and never become wealthy. Others benefit from opportunities they didn't create themselves. Reality contains both stories simultaneously. Which brings us back to our original question. If hard work doesn't automatically create wealth, does hard work even matter? Absolutely. But perhaps not in the way most people think. Hard work helps build skills. Hard work helps develop expertise. Hard work helps create opportunities. Hard work improves the odds. But hard work alone is rarely enough. The economy rewards a combination of factors: value, leverage, ownership, scale, timing, and yes, luck. The people who understand this are often able to direct their effort more effectively. Instead of simply working harder, they learn how wealth actually functions. Because the goal isn't to maximize effort, the goal is to maximize the value created by that effort. And that's a crucial difference. The hardest working people in society deserve enormous respect. But respect and wealth are not the same thing. The market does not distribute rewards according to difficulty. It distributes rewards according to value, scarcity, leverage, and ownership. Understanding this may be uncomfortable, but it is also incredibly useful. Because once you understand the real rules of wealth creation, you stop asking how to work harder and start asking a far more important question: how can I create value at scale? Because the reason hard work doesn't automatically make people rich isn't that work is worthless, it's that wealth follows a different set of rules. The economy doesn't reward effort, it rewards value, it rewards ownership, it rewards leverage, it rewards scale, and sometimes it rewards luck. The people who build wealth are not always the people who work the hardest. They are often the people who understand those rules the best, and that realization changes everything.